The BC government has done it yet again. They've changed housing policy and rules regarding taxes. And this is typically bad news for British Columbians. But this time around, they may have actually done some good. Kind of. Yep, you heard that right. The words government, taxes, and good all in the same sentence. I think it might be time to go buy a lottery ticket because it's extremely rare that I can ever say that. So what exactly is it that they did? Well, you're just gonna have to stick around to find out and see how it can potentially benefit you. What's going on, guys? My name's Alex Dunbar. I'm a local realtor based out of the Surrey and Langley areas here in BC. If this is your first time on my channel, I make weekly videos pertaining to the BC and Canadian real estate market, as well as showcase community tours across the Lower Mainland. So if that's something you're interested in seeing more of, I suggest you consider subscribing to our channel. But on to our topic for today, which is in regards to changes to the property transfer tax exemption for first-time homebuyers here in BC, also known as the First-Time Homebuyers Program. So first of all, if you don't know, you are required to pay something known as property transfer tax, or PTT for short, with the purchase of a residential property here in BC. The general property transfer tax rate is 1% on the purchase price up to $200,000, 2% on the portion between $200,000 and $2 million, 3% on over $2 million, and a further 2% on properties over $3 million. So essentially, if the property is worth over $3 million, a further 2% tax will be applied to the value that is greater than $3 million. And just to clarify, this is not the same thing as your property taxes. You still have to pay that annually. This is a one-time payment at the time of purchasing and is referred to as land transfer tax in some of the other provinces such as Ontario. And this is a massive tax grab for the BC government, as it's brought in around $2 billion or more annually over the past couple of years, so it's not something I expect them to give up easily, but I digress. Currently, the first-time homebuyers exemption for PTT is up to a maximum purchase price of $500,000 for a full exemption and up to $525,000 for a partial exemption. In regards to the partial exemption, this works on a sliding scale, which you'll see quickly here. However, if you'd like to look into it further, I will leave a link down in the description. Additionally, the PTT exemption on new construction is for properties up to $750,000 with a sliding scale up to $800,000, and for this, you don't even have to be a first-time homebuyer. Now, if you live in Greater Vancouver, you know that this doesn't really help very many people due to the fact that even in my markets of Surrey and Langley, $500,000 is only going to get you a nice one-bed condo and potentially a one-bed and a den if you're lucky. So unfortunately, it doesn't help very many first-time homebuyers whatsoever, and it's something that we've been requesting to be changed for years now. And alas, they finally listened. It obviously must have been our constant outcry that change was due, and it couldn't have had anything to do with it being an election year, of course, because that wouldn't make any sense, right? But I digress. The good news, change is coming. As of April 1st, 2024, the purchase price requirements are going up to $835,000 for resale properties and $1.1 million for new construction. However, there are a few other requirements that I haven't touched on yet, so let's go through them. The first step is determining if you qualify for an exemption. Eligibility is centered around a few key criteria. You must have lived in BC for at least a year immediately before the date you register the property, or filed at least 2 income tax returns as a BC resident in the last 6 taxation years before the registration date. You must have never owned an interest in a principal residence anywhere in the world, and you must have never received a first-time homebuyer's exemption or refund before. The property you're purchasing also needs to meet specific requirements. So first of all, it must be your personal residence. It cannot be a rental property. Next, as already discussed, it must be valued at $835,000 or less. It must be 0.5 hectares or smaller, and it can only contain residential improvements. Meeting these conditions could allow you to be exempt from the PTT on the first $500,000 of the property's purchase price, which is a potential savings of $8,000. For those whose properties exceed the fair market value threshold but fall below $860,000, a partial exemption may still be available. This allows for a slight buffer for those purchasing homes just above the full exemption limit, ensuring that the program still benefits a broad range of first-time homebuyers. How exactly this sliding scale will work has not been laid out yet, but I predict it will most likely be the same as the current one. However, $836,000 will be equivalent to $501,000, $837,000 will be the same as $502,000, and so on. If you're confused right now, that is perfectly fine. I'm going to try and make it clearer by giving you a few examples. So currently, on a $500,000 purchase, you'll be fully exempt and pay $0 in property transfer tax. This will also be true after April 1st. However, after that date, if you were to purchase a property that was $700,000, you'll be exempt on the first $500,000 but have to pay PTT on the remaining $200,000, which would be taxed at a rate of 2%, meaning you'd owe $4,000. If the purchase price was $835,000, again, you'd be exempt on the first $500,000, but you'd have to pay PTT on the remaining $335,000, which again would be taxed at a rate of 2%, meaning you would owe $6,700. Once you've applied for and received the exemption, there are additional requirements to maintain it. For existing homes, you must move into the home within 92 days of registration and continuously occupy it as your principal residence for the first year. This requirement ensures that the program benefits genuine home buyers looking for a principal residence rather than investors. For those who choose to build their own home on a vacant lot, the combined fair market value of the property and the cost to build the home must meet the exemption thresholds. Additionally, the same occupancy requirements apply, with homeowners needing to build and move into the home within the first year of registration and maintain it as their principal residence for at least that long. As far as new construction goes, the program also offers a newly built home exemption, which aims to reduce or eliminate the property transfer tax on new homes. The full exemption is available for homes up to $1.1 million, with a partial exemption that works on a sliding scale and phases out at $1.15 million. This incentive encourages the purchase of new homes and stimulates the construction industry, contributing to the overall housing supply. To qualify for the newly built home exemption, the property must be registered at the Land Title Office after February 16th, 2016, and the buyer must be an individual who is either a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, just like the previous example. Property must be the buyer's personal residence, located in BC, valued at or below the threshold, and be 0.5 hectares or smaller. A partial exemption is also available for properties that slightly exceed the value threshold or have specific characteristics, such as being larger than the 0.5 hectares or containing additional buildings besides the principal residence. It's important to note that foreign entities and taxable trustees are not eligible for these exemptions. However, individuals who become Canadian citizens or permanent residents within 12 months of the property registration may apply for a refund of the property transfer tax that they paid, provided they meet the other eligibility criteria. For more information on this, please seek independent tax advice and speak to a lawyer and/or accountant. After registering the property and qualifying for the exemption, homeowners must meet specific occupancy requirements to maintain their tax exemption status. And again, these are going to be the same as I previously mentioned. Compliance with these requirements is crucial, as failing to meet them could result in a partial or full repayment required on the exemption amount. In summary, the first-time homebuyers program and the newly built home exemption offer significant financial benefits to eligible individuals looking to purchase their first home in BC. In my opinion, these changes should have been implemented a lot sooner. And in reality, they should have increased the threshold to $1 million for the first-time homebuyers exemption and given a full exemption rather than just on the first $500,000. But we all know that the government takes a reactive rather than a proactive approach, often making changes after it's already too late. And in all honesty, I'm kind of curious to know how exactly that they came up with the $835,000 limit. It seems like a little bit of a strange number, but I'm sure they had some sort of reasoning. But hey, at least they did some good, so I'm just going to shut up and be happy for those who it does help. And by no means is this going to have any sort of major impact on housing affordability, although it will provide some level of financial relief for those who are able to take advantage of these programs. If after watching this video you do have any questions, leave them down below and I'll be sure to get back to you whenever I get a chance. Alternatively, if you want to continue this conversation and you're considering buying or selling in Surrey, Langley, or any of the surrounding cities for that matter, or you just want to talk about real estate, you can click the first link in the description to book a call with me at a time that works best for you. Now, I've just got one last point I want to leave you with. Of course, you can't expect the government to make a positive change without implementing an awful one at the same time, hoping that the positive one will overshadow or at least dampen the negative outlook on the other one. And that's exactly what they did. Enter the BC home flipping tax. The good news for you is that this is exactly what I covered in my previous video, so you're going to want to check that one out because it's going to be applicable to you as soon as you become a homeowner. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.